watching this show, if you actually watched from start to finish, it was almost a full 8-hour workday.
Yeah, I did watch it
without a break.
I watched every single moment of this show.
Yeah.
That was a long show. Now, granted, there was a lot of very newsworthy stuff on the show.
Sure.
Not the least of which is The Undertaker is retired. Now, God only knows what that means in pro wrestling. But whatever it means in pro wrestling to be retired, that's what The Undertaker is right now. Put his gloves in the ring, put his jacket and his hat in the ring, walked up the ramp, fell down a hole, and that's the end. He's out of here.
He didn't quite fall down a hole.
It was such bullshit.
They
had the longest entrance ramp in the history of sports entertainment of any sort.
They cut to a wide shot, well, several times, but it's a football stadium.
Yeah.
So we already know the playing field, the floor, if you will, is actually more than 100 yards long, but we'll see 100 yards long. And we know the ring's in the middle, and this entrance ramp went all 50 yards to the end zone, and then all the way up into the upper decks of the bowl. This may have been a 100-yard ramp. I'm dead serious.
I was so excited I got the stopwatch started because I wanted to see how long it was going to take Undertaker to slowly walk down that ramp. I thought maybe they're going to give the guy like a hearse so he can drive down the ramp. But instead, they had a trap door like 3/4 of the way down, and he came up out of it and then walked the rest of the way to the ring. It still took him 5 minutes and 25 seconds to get to the ring, which was longer than the entire Brock Lesnar-Goldberg match.
Yes.
Which actually was a match. Wasn't a long one, but it was a match. And of course, a couple of big surprises. Most of the big surprises actually took place on the pre-show. The main card didn't have a lot of surprises, but there were a couple of changes here based on what the odds makers had predicted. And we'll get into it as we go along. I'll go over the pre-show card very quickly. Aries and Neville had a pretty good match. Honest to God, this took place in broad daylight. The cloud cover hadn't set in yet, and so you had two guys that do a lot of high flying doing a match under very bright sunlight, and I think it made things kind of difficult. I don't want to say they botched spots, but like they didn't hit things perfectly.
Stuff was sloppy.
I think
I didn't see it, but I think that's what you're trying to say.
Well, it wasn't even like it was sloppy. It was just like it's hard to be pinpoint accurate when, as you're flipping upside down, a giant fucking star shoots radiation in your eyes.
Yeah.
That's basically what happened here. But
I hate when that happens.
They had a good little match here, and finally Neville went after the bad eye socket, and he kicked the ropes into his eyeball, hit him with a red arrow, and pinned him. So Neville retained the title there. They had the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, which Braun Strowman was the favorite, and the story of this match is that not only did Braun Strowman not win, but him and the Big Show were out in like a minute or less. Everybody ganged up on the Big Show, they tossed him out, and then everybody ganged up on Braun Strowman and they tossed him out. Two of the favorites out immediately. And when you think about the Big Show, and the fact that last year in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, he had that deal with Shaq. Mm-hmm. And they spent a whole year. They didn't really build it up, but for a year the plan was that they were going to do the Big Show versus Shaq at WrestleMania.
In Orlando.
In Orlando, here on this show. Mm-hmm. The Big Show versus Shaq was going to be on the main card of this show. Whole thing fell through, and the Big Show's WrestleMania moment that he said may be his last WrestleMania moment ever, he was out of the Battle Royal in 30 seconds. I couldn't even believe it. That was his payoff for the whole year. So, it came down to, I swear to God, Sami Zayn, Mojo Rawley, Titus O'Neil, Killian Dane, and Jinder Mahal. Those were the last five guys. Sami tossed Titus, Killian tossed Sammy, Mojo tossed Killian. They did a spot where Gronkowski was there in the front row, and in the highlight of the show, Jinder is out there yelling at Gronk, and he throws water at him, and Gronk starts to take his t-shirt off and go over the rail. And this fucking female security guard flies in, and she will not let Gronk get over the guardrail. And they had to send referees and officials out there to tell her, dude, it's fake. It's Gronk. It's part of the show. And then she went over and was very embarrassed by the timekeeper's table. But got in there, got in the ring, gave Jinder the pounce. Mojo tossed Killian, and then tossed Jinder. So Mojo Rawley is the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal winner. You have never seen so many geeks in the same place at the same time.
And man,
I've been to a lot of WrestleManias.
The legacy of the Andre the Giant Battle Royal winners and what they've done after winning.
Man.
Like Baron Corbin won last year, and the year since he's done nothing. Still on the pre-show.
And then they moved the women's SmackDown title match off the pre-show. And let me tell you something. If any of those women are listening right now, you would have been better off on the pre-show because they ended up on the main show right before the main event. Their time was drastically cut. They went 1,000 miles an hour and just had the most forgettable match you could possibly have. At least they would have had time on the pre-show. So they got moved, and that means that they needed a new pre-show match, and it was Baron Corbin versus Dean Ambrose. The match with the worst build of anything on this Mania card by a long shot. Corbin was the favorite. Dean Ambrose won. Double arm DDT out of nowhere for the pin. They had a match. There was absolutely nothing special about it, and Dean Ambrose retained the title, so sucks to be Baron.
It was the only pre-match show I watched. Crowd was totally dead for it. I was thinking to myself, it was just like last summer. Dean Ambrose was the champion of this entire company.
Yeah.
Now he's pre-show fodder and no one cares about him.
Well, fuck, if you would have watched the build-up, it was hideous.
Yep.
My mother-in-law was over when they aired the footage of him getting squished with a forklift. I was so embarrassed.
So they had some geek from Sirius XM satellite radio. Looked like the secret love child of Art Garfunkel and Sideshow Bob. He warned us.
Sam Roberts,
sure.
Vinny.
Gave us a stern warning, everyone, be prepared. It's possible, he said, Roman Reigns might get booed tonight.
Yeah. You know what's so funny about that is they said that because they were expecting that he was going to get absolutely booed out of the building. And he wasn't. They didn't hate him that much. Mostly because it was 8 hours into the show and they were exhausted.
I've heard many reports of people who had left by that point. We had Tanahashi, who I've never heard of, coming out to sing the America the Beautiful. New Day came out in their wackiest outfits of all time. Apparently they're supposed to be Final Fantasy characters. Big E made a few suggestive comments and threw sideways glances Xavier's way. That was funny. And that was it.
Yeah. No Hulk Hogan.
No.
I think they had maybe 4 segments on the show. They kept them all short. It was not overwhelming. I expected this to be a total disaster, and it was fine. They did a great job.
AJ Styles versus Shane McMahon.
This opened the show.
We're going to be here all night if we get into every detail, but I don't even know where to start with this match.
I'll start. I'd be happy to. I don't give a shit what I'm going to read tomorrow from people who are angry or happy or mad or upset about what we say. I'm going to tell you the actual facts about this match. The match was good. I will go as far as to say that. It was good. It was not great. It was also not terrible. AJ Styles got himself a job for life with his performance in this match, carrying Shane McMahon to the absolute best possible match. You could not have gotten a better match out of Shane McMahon. There's nobody in the world, I think, who would have gotten a better match out of Shane McMahon. Shane McMahon, at his best, was fine, and at his worst, he was horrible. At the end of the day, it was not a disaster, but AJ Styles could have had a much better match with Samoa Joe, who was not on the show. He could have had a much better match with Finn Balor, who was not on the show. These men were never seen. There were many options. Shinsuke Nakamura retired from NXT basically last night. Could have had a better match with him. Didn't happen. I'm still upset about this match, but the match was fine.
It was. Shane, it built well, and they paced all the big spots in a way so the match built and people were into it. And we had just seen a match with zero heat, so you can't blame it on the building or the crowd or the heat or the mic or any of that. There was heat for this match, and there was none for the Corbin-Ambrose match. Shane did the worst chain wrestling in Mania history, had to be. Some of the worst brawling as well. And most concerning, I was honestly concerned for his health. He looked like, very quickly he looked like he was ready to drop dead of a heart attack.
Dude, he's 48 years old.
Yeah.
He's heavier than he needs to be. It's very hot out there. It was like 85 degrees or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And let me repeat, he's 48 years old.
Yeah.
At least if you're The Undertaker, you know how to pace a long match. Shane McMahon has absolutely no concept of pacing. The match had to be paced for him by AJ. But when he was on offense, he was pacing it, and he got really tired.
He was sweating everywhere, sweat dripping off his nose. He was red, absolutely red. I was very terrified he might die. Meanwhile, the announcers are blowing smoke up his ass like you wouldn't believe. You wouldn't know it because of his shirt, they said. But he's built like an NFL linebacker.
Shredded.
Shredded to the bone, were JBL's exact words. Folks, there was an NFL player in this ring an hour before Shane. Guess what? Shane didn't look like him. So AJ did what he could here with this middle-aged dad in the biggest wrestling show of the year. And Shane, he's actually like an athletically talented guy. He's just not trained like everyone else. And in the end, it was good, and people really liked it. I did like all of Shane's. Even I could tell Shane was using horrible MMA, horrible jiu-jitsu. Shane McGracie out there.
Dude, honest to God, his jiu-jitsu was better than his chain wrestling at the beginning.
That's probably true. So we had a ref bump. The ref was down for an hour. They did the coast-to-coast dropkick spots. AJ took a can to the face. And Shane he missed a shooting star press, crashed in the mat. Everyone laughed. AJ kept trying the phenomenal forearm and not hitting it. And one time Shane caught him with the goofiest float over DDT you ever saw. Finally, AJ hit the phenomenal forearm for the win, and as silly as this was in spots and as sloppy as it was most of the way through, it was put together well, it was mostly paced properly, and they gave the fans what they wanted. This is a good match.
I think a very fair rating for this match would be 3 1/4 stars.
I went exactly 3, but I won't argue with you.
Yep.
Chris Jericho versus Kevin Owens.
Which, by the way, if you can tell me the last Big Show match that AJ Styles had that was 3 1/4 stars or worse.
Most of them are superior.
I mean, it would probably be like 1995.
It may have been on
before
Nitro.
He even started.
Yes. Chris Jericho versus Kevin Owens. Chris Jericho's been wrestling now for like 2.5 decades. I'm pretty sure the blinking scarf he had in his entrance here was the highlight of his career.
I loved when my baby stopped what she was doing and stared at the screen when Jericho's blinking jacket was on TV. She was transfixed.
So, they had a good match, although it took a while to get going. Owens worked him over for a long time, and fans weren't dead, but they weren't terribly into it either. And they got into the big moves at the end. The best spot was Owens tried the pop-up powerbomb. Jericho kicked out of a pop-up powerbomb. Then Owens tried it again, but Jericho turned it into a code breaker, which was awesome. Then Jericho made a cover, and Owens was even more awesome when he broke it up by getting one finger on the ropes. And then out of nowhere, Owens just pulled Jericho outside, hit the apron powerbomb, threw him in, and pinned him. Also came out of nowhere. A theme on this show.
Show had a lot of finishes that just came out of nowhere. This one, I mean, if you watch it, I don't know what it is. Like, especially in the Raw women's match, I understood the finish. It looked like it came out of nowhere, but it really didn't. I mean, they were rushed for time, but there were a lot of matches here where not only did I think it came out of nowhere, and you thought it came out of nowhere, but you could listen to the crowd react like, what? What the hell was that? There were a lot of those reactions during this match. This was also a good match. It was not like a great show-stealing match or anything like that. They were put second on the show. They had to follow Shane doing all of his craziness and coast-to-coast drop kicks and everything like that. Mm-hmm. And it was good. It was a good match.
Now, the main show, the pay-per-view show here, was already 70 minutes old, and the second match had just ended. An omen for things to come. Bayley, Sasha, Charlotte, and Nia Jax in a four-way. First fall was actually... Really, they did the best possible job they could of storytelling here, because Nia was an unstoppable monster. And so Charlotte, Sasha, and Bayley had to triple team her to have any chance of getting her out of the match. And even then, it didn't always work. Like, they had her down, and she was fighting to her feet, and so they, like, linked arms and all charged at her at once, and they hit her, and they all went down, and Nia was still standing. It was like playing Red Rover in reverse. She beat all of them up until finally they swarmed her again. She tried a triple powerbomb, she tried a Vader bomb. They triple powerbombed her, and all dog piled on top of her to eliminate her. So Nia's out of the match. Then they only had, like, maybe 6 minutes left after that. 7 or 8 minutes, I guess. Maybe a little more, but... Charlotte says, I've got an idea. I'm going to unloosen the turnbuckle pad. Not the top turnbuckle, mind you, the middle turnbuckle. This is going to be awesome. So she unlooses the middle turnbuckle pad, but she doesn't get the pad all the way off, so for a lot of people it wasn't even clear this was exposed. But she loosens the middle turnbuckle pad. A minute or two goes by, and Sasha tries an O'Connor roll. Charlotte kicks her off. Sasha goes headfirst into the exposed middle buckle. Convenient for Charlotte that Sasha rolled her up facing that exact corner, by the way. And, Charlotte pinned her after this. So now it's down to...
You know, the thing with that spot was Charlotte... First off, Vinny, she loosened it. She didn't unloosen it. Right?
If I said unloosened, then I was wrong.
Yes, if she unloosened it, that means she tied it.
That wouldn't make any sense.
Right?
Right.
But anyway, the problem was she goes to take the turnbuckle pad off, and she's halfway done, and somebody grabbed her.
Yeah.
I don't even know why. And I thought, okay, well, obviously Charlotte's going to cut this person off and then go finish the job. She didn't.
No.
That pad's just kind of hanging there. And that played into the finish of that one and the final pinfall. But the final pinfall, I don't even think anybody saw Charlotte go face first into the buckle at the end. Did you see it?
I saw Charlotte throw Bayley's knee into the buckle. I must go over my notes, Brian, because this match is so long ago, I forgot what happened. Okay, yes, because Bayley was basically in the Tree of Woe, and Charlotte charged, and Bayley sat up, and Charlotte went into the exposed buckle, and then Bayley hit the Macho Man elbow for the win.
Yeah, based on the reaction of everybody else in the room, I don't know if anybody else saw that.
Yeah.
But the problem was, again, the buckle was not exposed.
Problem was the buckle was not exposed. The problem was, again, everything they did by the lucky fate happened to be aimed right at this specific middle turnbuckle in this one specific corner. So anyway, they worked really hard, these women did. They tried to have the best match they could under the circumstances.
I thought it was another pretty good match.
It was rushed, and the turnbuckle stuff annoyed me and was stupid.
This should not have been a four-way. This should have been Charlotte versus Bayley.
It should have been... They were trying to sell this, by the way, after the match. This is Bayley's WrestleMania moment. Why? Not because she's won the championship, which was what they should have done. No, it was a big moment because now she's proven she deserves it. It's like she had to verify her championship.
When I first ranted about this being a four-way and not a singles match, I had a lot of reasons, but once they made it a four-way, to me, I thought, you know what? If you got a reason for this four-way, then fine. Like maybe there's going to be some sort of spot in there that's going to build up to Sasha turning heel, either tomorrow or at the pay-per-view or whatever. There was none. I guess the spot was that she just didn't win. But they didn't do anything to tease that. There was no reason for Sasha to be in the match. I mean, they did a bunch of stuff with Nia and then pinned her. There was no reason for her to be in the match. The one great thing about this match was Charlotte goes up top for what I thought was just going to be a moonsault off the post to the floor. Onto, not Nia, who's big. She was going to do it onto the diminutive Sasha and Bayley. She fucking nailed it, and it was a twisting moonsault. She pulled it off perfectly. It was awesome.
It was great. It was awesome.
And the finish of the match, one thing you got to remember about Charlotte is she started wrestling 4 years ago. She's even been in the business 4 years. She's been in the business 3.5 years. So every now and then during matches, like, just things happen. She gets lost. It's kind of a cluster. But when you consider she's only been in 3.5 years, she is quite awesome. And she has 5 championships to her name.
That's right.
In that 3.5 years.
She's going to break her dad's record.
Of course. That's the whole idea.
Yeah.
Or at least tie it.
In 2018, maybe. Time for the ladder match. Enzo and Cass came out. I was expecting more for Enzo and Cass's first Mania entrance. Enzo had a shiny leopard print suit. The entrance ramp, which if we didn't mention was one giant TV screen. They put a leopard print on the ramp as well. Other than that, it was an abbreviated version of Enzo and Cass every entrance they've ever done. Then Cesaro and Sheamus came out. They have matching tearaway suits and kilts now in a show of unity. They're both wearing the tearaway
suddenly
suits.
they're buddies.
Well, it's been a slow build to being buddies.
It's been a slow build, but, I mean, they're buddies now.
They are now, yes, they are a union. And Gallows and Anderson came out and were just guys. So they're about to wrestle when New Day came out. And they said they have news. It's now going to be...
Oh, man, before, like, the moment they came out, everybody started chanting delete.
Delete, delete, delete.
And I thought, if these fuckers put themselves in this match,
That's what I thought was going to happen, actually.
this show's over. I mean, it's totally over. It will be hijacked from now until the end of the show. But they made the right decision. This explains why this was a random ladder match.
Yeah.
They announced that it was the Hardy Boys.
Yes. These two 40-year-old boys.
Yep.
They're not even the Hardy men. I think one time there was a Hardy brothers in there.
They did their entrance from 1999, 2000. They came out, Matt and Jeff, the Hardy Boys. The most goddamn amazing thing I ever saw was all of the fans doing the delete chant and the hand delete gimmick.
Yeah.
I was like, and somebody pointed this out on Twitter. A fucking year ago, Matt Hardy did a stupid little wacky little video where Rebby threw a fake Maxwell
Yeah.
in the ring in their barn.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Final deletion led to the Expedition of Gold in TNA, where they were going to go all over the world and win all of the different tag team titles. They ended up not re-signing with TNA. They continued a TNA angle in Ring of Honor.
Yes.
They won those titles.
Yes.
These crazy fuckers lost a ladder match last night that was not a tame ladder match. It was crazier than this one by a long shot. Mm-hmm. They lost the titles to the Young Bucks. They show up for a second ladder match in 2 days the next day. They won the WWE tag team titles.
Yeah. Impressive.
They started an angle in TNA. It has run through Ring of Honor, and now it's in WWE.
Really,
and
all over the world.
It continues on.
They have gone all over the world with this. Chili.
This Matt Hardy, like a couple of years ago, was completely out of his mind, acting on social media like he was about to kill himself.
Yeah.
Look at this.
There is a thread on our board.
Matt Hardy dead.
Matt Hardy dead. Placeholder thread, it reads.
Yep.
It started on March 4th, 2011.
Yep.
He's doing fine, folks. He's doing great.
Look at how this guy turned his career around. He's like, you know what's funny is Zack Ryder did the same thing. But because he started it in WWE, he didn't even make WrestleMania this year. This guy started it in his backyard, moved it to TNA, and look at how it paid off for him. This man should write a book. That's what this guy should do.
He is the smartest man in wrestling for 2017.
Dallas Page needs to induct this guy into the Hall of Fame. Talk about the power of positivity.
Yes. So as noted, this was the Hardys' second ladder match, I believe, in 24 hours.
Yes.
Not just in 2 days. Or not just back-to-back nights.
In under 24 hours.
Yes. And as noted, I didn't see the Ring of Honor match, but I've seen the Hardys have a lot of insane ladder matches. It's not the most insane ladder match they've ever had. The biggest spot for either of them was actually right at the very end when, in the ring, Matt hit, I believe, Anderson with a twist of fate off a ladder in the ring, which, as ladder match spots go, is nothing special. Jeff, meanwhile, had Cesaro and Sheamus on ladder bridges on the floor and found the biggest ladder in all of Florida. He had to be 20 feet in the air on this. I know I sound like Nigel McGuinness, but he gets way the hell up there and just tips over and falls and wipes out Cesaro and kind of grazes Sheamus, and Sheamus rolls over, sells it anyway.
This stupid ladder was 100 feet in the air, I think. And Jeff climbs to the very top of it. And he doesn't stand straddling the ladder with like 1 foot on the second. He's on the very, very top. Like he's unmoving and the wind is blowing this ladder back and forth. And I thought, dude, if you jump, like that ladder's going to go flying behind you and you're going to fall straight down and you're going to die. I have no idea how he pulled this off. He pulled it off. He landed on his head. I thought the guy was dead. But you know what? 2 minutes later, he was in the ring celebrating. He was totally fine. These men are unbelievable. This was like, I hesitate to say it was the best thing on WrestleMania because Goldberg and Lesnar was just an awesome spectacle. But this was absolutely, when they talk about a WrestleMania moment, the return of the Hardys, broken Matt Hardy, winning the tag titles in a ladder match on their return. This was a Mania moment, and it was so awesome.
A lot of people said it was the biggest pop on the show.
That's what people live said.
People said that there was lines in the concession stands, and when the Hardys music hit, everyone ran. Everyone ran back into the stadium to watch. So it's a great story. Like I say, this show was very long, and I forget everything that happened, but I want to say it was the best match on the show.
I got to say it was the best thing on the show. Yeah. I loved Goldberg and Lesnar, but we've seen them have matches before. This was like their last 2 matches put together, basically. Mm-hmm. It was 4 minutes and 44 seconds. I mean, someday when I remember back to great WrestleMania moments, I'm going to remember this one. This was the best thing on the show.
And by the way, we were glossing over the other 6 guys. They all worked hard and they all looked good, especially of course, Cesaro, because he's awesome. But this is a win all around. John Cena and Nikki Bella versus Miz and Maurice.
Dude. Let me just say
I don't know why any of us should have expected anything other than what we got.
Okay. I said I loved the build. The build was awesome. Vinny didn't even watch the build, but he saw the highlight package. And you could even tell from the highlight package how good the build was.
Yes, I watched some of Miz's Cena imitation stuff.
This had the best build of anything on this show. This had the best build of anything at any Mania for a while now. But I said going in, Maurice hasn't wrestled in 7 years. Nikki Bella has a screwed up neck. It's up to John Cena and The Miz to carry this match. And you want to know what? I expected them to do more than they even did. They did nothing in this match. Nothing. They did absolutely nothing in this match. And then there was a double pinfall finish. Did they do one thing in this match?
Miz beat him up for a long time and the fans liked it. My favorite part was actually before the match. Miz and Maurice come out, Nikki comes out, and then John Cena comes out on stage. And he's singing along with the crowd and having some fun and holds up the never give up towel or shirt or whatever that is. And he looks down the ramp at a ring that is very, very far away. And he looks into the camera and says, "This is going to be a long run." And then he jogged down the ramp because he knew if he actually ran down there, he would never finish running. He'd have been blown up and walking way before he actually got down.
You know what's so weird about that entrance, too? In all those Miz-Maurice storylines, all they do is make fun of John Cena and Nikki Bella for being a robot, who don't really love each other, they're only together for their own careers, and they only care about themselves. So, they came out separately. You know what I mean?
Well, you can sell it, Brian, is that Cena cares so much about Nikki, she wanted her to have a chance in the limelight.
Oh, I see.
And Nikki, of course, loves Cena so much that she wanted him to have his own time, too.
I see. Well, Miz and Maurice came out together. They actually loved each other.
I actually buy that Cena and Nikki, they have such mutual selfishness that they love and respect in each other.
I see.
That's how I feel. So the match was nothing, as you said. The women did nothing for the 30 seconds they were in the ring. The men did nothing for the 5 minutes in the ring. The highlight was the commentary, because Lawler's out there. I guess it's because there's beautiful women in the match. So they had to give Lawler his time. So Lawler is insistent that the fans cheering for Miz, it's actually a small section of fans, they just happen to be center camera.
Oh, yeah. It was actually
JBL,
every single fan at ringside.
This was too much bullshit for even JBL to tolerate. He had to say, "King, every fan in this building is chanting Miz is awesome." JBL cannot stand for this lie. So yes, eventually Miz did like the yes kicks and everyone cheered him. And he got slapped by Nikki. Nikki ran wild on Maurice for like 2 moves. She did a dive on Miz, and then the heels got laid out. They did a double 5-knuckle shuffle, and they both did their finishers and made a double cover for the win. It was not very good pro wrestling wackiness, but it was pro wrestling wackiness, and so I cannot hate it.
I didn't hate it. I was gobsmacked at how little they actually did. It's WrestleMania. Like, Miz is not the world's best worker, but it's very difficult for John Cena to have a bad match.
I'd have to go back and check. Was this worse than their last Mania match?
Oh, significantly. I mean, that one was bad because Miz got knocked out, and it was just kind of like a bad match, but at least they tried to do something. Mm-hmm. They didn't do anything here. It was like they were doing a run-through before the show where they decided, no bumps, let's just take it easy here. It's fucking hot out. Let's not do anything crazy. That's the way they worked this match right here. Now, I'm going to give a backhanded compliment to Miz. Kind of. So Miz has a reputation. Never have him catch you, because he's always going to drop you. Like, you never want to do a dive onto the Miz, because he's just terrible at catching people. They did a spot at the end where Nikki, who has a fucked up neck, did a running tope and Miz was supposed to catch her. I thought, this is just the ballsiest idea anyone has ever come up with. But you know what? The dude caught her perfectly. Maybe the best catch of his entire career. So big thumbs up for Miz right there.
So it's time for the angle. Cena cuts a promo. Says, "Nikki, you broke your neck a year ago. And you've done everything you've done to come back here because you wanted your Mania moment. And I'm proud of you, but I've got to tell you something. Before you went into surgery, you were kind of loopy going to the OR. And right before they pulled you in, I stopped and I whispered in your ear. And I asked you a question. And I knew you'd be loopy enough to be honest with me, but then after surgery, you didn't remember any of this. So it's the right time to tell you what happened. What happened was, I asked if you knew that one day I would marry you. And there were a mix of boos and cheers. Cena said, you said yes to that question. Now I need you to say yes one more time. And he got down on one knee, and he reached into his jorts, and he pulled out a diamond the size of the Big Show.
It was fucking gigantic.
When he put this rock on her arm, I expected it to break off. Good Lord. So he...
You know the Three Amigos when they give Ned the giant gun?
Yes.
That's how that was going to happen. He's going to put on her finger, her hand would fall into the ground. She wouldn't be able to lift it back up without assistance.
Yes. Get a wheelbarrow to carry her diamond ring around. But somehow he got it on there and she was able to carry it, and he called her by her full name and asked her to marry him, and she said yes. She's all crying and hugging, and they go to ringside where their moms are sitting together, and they finally go to the back and they're hugging and all lovey, and fans were... I expected more of a mixed reaction than this.
Yeah, they didn't boo it out of the building.
Because fans hate Cena, and a lot of them are
but
dudes
you know what? They don't
romance.
really hate Cena.
Yeah.
Like it's a gimmick. The one thing about this was, I mean, it's patently obvious that this was not a surprise proposal. I mean, the entire goddamn storyline. This was exactly what everybody thought that it was going to be. I mean, they didn't change one single thing about it. Babyface went in there, destroyed the heels, won, John Cena proposed. Even though they had to know about this for months and months and months, John Cena was trying to be so cool about this, still got emotional. Nikki was trying to be so cool about this, still got emotional. And my God, when he started to put that ring on her finger, she fucking grabbed that ring and shoved it on. Like, you ain't getting out of here, dude. It's over
done now.
It was awesome. The proposal was awesome. It was a good payoff for all of this angle, except for the match.
That was
It was
bad
such a waste of time.
Triple H versus Seth Rollins. Triple H's wacky Mania entrance this year is actually pretty cool. He had a big, giant, custom motor trike he was riding, and his wife was riding behind him. And gotta say, I'm not a fan of Steph, never have been, but biker Steph was about as hot as she's been in a long time. He also had a police escort in case someone tried to intercept him on his way down to the ring. So Hunter gets to ride his bike down to the ring here. Does his whole entrance, posing, spitting water in the air. Music stops. And out comes Seth in his shiny gold outfit with a torch. So
you running the Olympics?
I was thinking the gimmick was this is the torch Hunter is going to pass to him.
Oh, I see.
But instead he dropped, or he set it down, and a fire burned down the video screen all the way to the ring. And then Hunter had gotten to ride down to the ring, and Seth and his bad knee had to walk 5 miles down.
They should have said that was on purpose by Hunter and Steph.
Really, it was brilliant strategy by the promoter here to set himself up. So this match.
I didn't think it was bad.
It was long.
What the hell do you expect out of a Triple H match where he's working over a body part for an injured guy? This was exactly what you would expect.
I didn't need to go 35 minutes.
Well, it did go a while.
It went a long, long, long time.
Honestly, the only thing that I would criticize about it is Seth Rollins really did have a bad knee, and it's really not 100%. I hate these matches where people come back from an injury, and they have to test their knee by doing like a bunch of high flying. Seth actually recreated the sunset flip power bomb that he blew his knee out on.
Yes.
Hunter's kicking his knee and whacking it with a chair, and it's like, I know it's fake and all, but the whole point of professional wrestling, do you know why this business became worked in the first place? Because when you really fight, you can't fucking do it every day.
Right.
But if you work matches, you can go all around the big loop. You can, what was the term they used? Fleece the marks all the way around the loop with your buddy, and you can make a ton of money. It's not about going in there and, man, you know, I just got my knee repaired. I'm going to see if it holds up. I'm going to test my knee. Well, what happens when in the test, you fail the test? He was out there doing all of these crazy things on his bad knee that he didn't need to do to have a good match, but he did anyway. And he ended up fine, so I guess all is well and good, but it's concerning.
So it was basically 30 minutes of Hunter working over the knee, and occasionally one guy or the other would try a pedigree and wouldn't get it, and they go back to working the knee over and over and over and over. There was a table out there. I don't know when it got set up. Honestly, it may have been set up in another match, but Steph jumps up on the apron, and by this point in the match, they've already kicked out of Phoenix splashes and a pedigree or two and all the finishes. And so Steph's on the apron. Seth pushes Hunter into Steph. Steph does the easiest Nestea plunge backwards through a table, the easiest table bump of all time. They treated it like death. But we found the one thing that actually hurt Hunter, and it's Stephanie. Because he was stunned, and he turned around, and Seth had a pedigree and pinned him.
I love that now every year, Stephanie just destroys everybody on the roster for 364 days, and then at WrestleMania, she accidentally gets bumped. They did it last year with Roman when he accidentally speared her, which led to nothing. They did it this year when she accidentally got bumped through a table. It's amazing. It's like, I know I'm going to wake up tomorrow and go, see, Brian, Stephanie got hers after all of the terrible things she'd done this year to everybody. It's like, dude, she accidentally got bumped off the apron. It doesn't even count. And you want to know what? I got to say one thing. Mick Foley wasn't on this show. I thought at the very least, maybe he would put her in the Sacco Claw to lead to the finish or something. I realized it would have been quite the task to get him down that damn ramp. But in storyline, a couple of weeks ago, remember when Stephanie wanted Foley to fire somebody? And the big storyline thing about it was Mick didn't want to fire someone 3 weeks before WrestleMania because it's the biggest show of the year, and how terrible it is to make sure that a guy doesn't work the biggest show of the year. Do you know when he's getting his hip surgery?
I do not know.
Like, in a few weeks. Mm-hmm. There's no reason this guy couldn't have gotten a WrestleMania payoff and been on this show. But they fired him 2 weeks before WrestleMania, and he missed the show. He got no revenge. Mm-hmm. He was browbeaten, lambasted, and treated like a complete loser all year long. Mm-hmm. And at the biggest show of the year, Hunter accidentally bumps her through a table. Foley's not even there.
Nope.
It's like, Jesus.
So at this point, including the pre-show, the show was 5 hours and 50 minutes old.
And then we realized there were 4 more matches. I couldn't even believe it.
But before those 4 matches, it was time for Pitbull to come out for his concert.
Sure.
So Pitbull did his concert. That's fine. Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton.
This was amazing.
Where to begin with this shit? First of all, as noted, I do not watch SmackDown or sporadically watch SmackDown, so I don't really know the SmackDown storylines. I rely on the pre-match videos on pay-per-views to keep me up to speed. This Bray Wyatt, Randy Orton thing, here's all I know. Randy and Bray were enemies. At some point, they became friends. Randy burned his house down. Bray was sad. There was a crucifix. Whatever the fuck that might be. That's all I know. This storyline is bewildering.
Okay, I'll very quickly piece together what you missed. You're right. They were friends. Randy burned his house down. Randy burned his house down because he tried to burn the grave of Sister Abigail as well. Apparently, he didn't quite burn it, and so Bray still had some powers. And so Randy went back to the rubble with his crucifix, and he drove it through Sister Abigail to allegedly get rid of Bray's powers.
Now, did he call this a crucifix? Where did that word come up? The commentators?
I'm going to try and not get furious when I tell this story.
Okay.
Randy just cuts a promo, and he holds up this fucking thing. And in the middle of it, he says, I'm going to drive this crucifix through the heart of Sister Abigail. And at the time, I thought, hey, fucker, it's a crucifix. Like, how could you fuck up that word? Why didn't they retape it? Maybe they thought he was doing so well that they figured nobody's going to notice. I go to WWE.com the next day, and the giant headline is Randy Orton drives crucifix through Sister Abigail. They fucking made a word up.
Okay. So the build sucks. The story sucks from start to finish.
Vinny, as you review it, I want you to remember that the storyline was he drove the crucifix through Sister Abigail, so Bray supposedly has no more powers.
All right. Now, I guarantee you, I didn't watch all this, but from your description, I guarantee you this match was worse. I don't even necessarily blame the guys involved. They're doing a match, and in the middle of it, fairly early on, Bray stops and does the thing where he goes to the corner and grabs the top rope and leans over backwards and hangs upside down. Next thing you know, they cut to almost a top-down shot. The referee bails out of the ring, and the ring is filled with a projection of giant maggots.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this again. Perhaps some of you think you're not paying attention.
Doesn't
or
this
you may
sound
have
like
misheard me.
magic is my point?
Probably.
Shouldn't his powers be gone? Now he has the powers to project maggots onto the floor of the ring?
Yeah. So yes, giant maggots, images of giant maggots filled the ring. You've never heard 65,000 people just stop before. They weren't booing. They were just... I think they all thought they had missed something or were confused about something. And they looked at the person next to them to see what they had seen, but that person was just as confused. So the match goes on for a while. Now the ring's filled with giant worms. I cannot believe the people were not booing this out of the building. There were, by the third time, there's cockroaches, I believe, by the end.
Crickets.
Crickets, I see. But, well, fitting, actually, because you can hear crickets in the stadium.
You know what was so annoying about it? After Bray's projection had appeared for the third time, I thought, there's only one way that this match can end. And that is that all of a sudden, a giant snake needs to appear. Bray needs to be momentarily shocked, and Randy hits the RKO and pins him off the distraction. They didn't even do that. The crickets appeared, and then Randy just RKO'd him and pinned him.
Yeah. Literally, here are my notes on the actual wrestling. As far as what happened, the wrestling that happened. I talked about Bray going to the corner and doing his upside down thing to kick off the maggots. There was a spot where Orton kicked out his sister Abigail and nobody cared. Probably because they were still thinking about the maggots. We had an RKO on the floor, which should be like an injury angle, and instead Bray Wyatt was kicking out of moves 2 minutes later. And then an RKO and a win. This is one of the worst championship matches in WrestleMania history. This sucked.
Can we at least talk about the sperm on the ramp?
Oh, we didn't even mention that. Randy Orton's coming out, and they got the TV ramp. And their idea for him, which I thought was actually cool, let's put a big snake on there, and he'll walk down the snake. But Sean was with us, and Sean said, why is he walking down a giant sperm? And I thought, okay, I get it. I can see where he's saying this, but I thought it was a strange opinion. Sean was not alone in making the sperm joke. Many others made the sperm joke, including Colt Cabana. So I guess it looks exactly like a sperm. And sperm are much scarier than I realized. They have fangs and eyes. Anyway, I went just because it was at least memorable, a half star.
Wow. I thought it was a little better than that.
Why?
Not much.
What did they do that was good?
Well, if you take out the goddamn maggots, I mean, it was a SmackDown television main event caliber match.
It was?
Yeah.
All right.
Show's not much nowadays. At least it wasn't on Thursday.
Fair enough. Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg.
This match was awesome.
It really was.
This was the best 4 minutes and 44 seconds like you could even... And you know what? Goldberg's first match was over in 1:34.
Can I stop you?
Yes.
Well, go. You want to list the matches?
Yeah.
I did the math, but you list the matches.
Well, the point is, his first was over in 1:34. His second was over in like, I don't know, what, a minute?
I may still have it.
And he did virtually nothing in it except a spear and jackhammer.
We went 126 for the Survivor Series.
Okay.
He was in the ring for 321 at the Royal Rumble.
But a lot of that was an entrance. I mean,
I got that
he did two moves.
I got it from Wikipedia.
Okay, but he did two moves.
Okay. The Owens match at Fastlane went 22 seconds.
Oh, I see what you're doing. Okay, yeah. So Royal Rumble I wasn't counting, but the two singles matches he's had,
yes,
it's gone less than 2 minutes.
Yes.
So I'm watching it, and I'm thinking, we haven't seen Goldberg. He's taken one bump. One!
Yeah.
He's 50. He looks like he's just in agony, which he admitted, by the way. I'm in complete agony trying to look like Goldberg at 50.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, dude, if this match goes more than 1:34, I don't know what's going to happen. Like, all of his arms, legs, head, limbs, they're all going to fall off. He's going to turn to dust. This fucking guy did 4:44 like it was nothing. He didn't do anything that looked like he got hurt. He moved great.
Yep.
Every move looked good. Mm-hmm. He took good bumps. Mm-hmm. It was just 4 minutes and 44 seconds of carnage.
It was.
And this was how long into the show? 5 hours?
Something like that.
These
Maybe more.
fucking fans loved this match.
Oh, yes.
It was awesome.
It was. because of what they had done, these fans were well aware it could end at any time. Any time. So they were at the edge of their seat for all 4 minutes and 44 seconds. So I can just list all the moves they did. Goldberg speared him a lot. Brock was able to roll out of the ring, but that just led to him getting speared through the barricade, which looked like they both got cut open on. Then Brock kicked out of a jackhammer. And Goldberg was like, uh-oh. So he went for another spear, but this time Brock leapfrogged him. Partially because as Brock was fighting to his feet, all of us could hear Heyman outside the ring yelling, Brock, he's in position for a spear. What a good manager. What a good manager. So Brock turns around, Goldberg charges, Brock leapfrogs him. I don't want to gloss over this, by the way. These are both really, really big dudes, but Brock was way bigger here. He leapfrogged this fucker, gets way up in the air, Goldberg crashes in the corner. We then get a bunch of suplexes. The crowd counted up to 10, although I think that counted some of that happened earlier in the match. Brock is his 10th suplex. He pops up and roars, hits an F5, and he wins.
Yeah.
It was the best mean guy match in Mania history.
It was so awesome. And you know what? If you think back to their first Mania match where they were absolutely booed out of the building.
Exactly, yes.
It would have been, you would have been the craziest person in the world to go, you know what? In 2017, when Goldberg is 50, and he will not have wrestled in like almost a decade, he's going to come back, and him and Goldberg are going to have the most exciting match at WrestleMania, outside of maybe a crazy ladder match. You would have been out of your mind, and they did it. They redeemed themselves for that WrestleMania. God, this was great.
It was a great mean guy match, and Brock Lesnar is champion again. So here is the math on Goldberg's comeback. Now, I posted this on Twitter, and people freaked out, and they apparently thought I was angry about this or that I was insulting Goldberg. None of these above. I'm very impressed with Goldberg, and his comeback was great, and I know everything he had to do to be Goldberg to come back for this match, and he earned his respect and his money, and I know what he really came back for. He earned the right to know his family has seen what he does and what made him a star, and he's earned the right to entertain children. All of that. This is not an insult. I just find it amazing. 4 matches. That includes 3 singles matches in the Royal Rumble. They went 126. 321, he was technically in for the Rumble. 22 seconds of Fastlane, and 444 here. 4 matches, 9 minutes, and 53 seconds of total in-ring action.
Dude.
He's the man.
Probably made $4 million or something crazy for that.
I should figure that out by the hour. Made me very happy.
Between Goldberg and Matt Hardy, it's my
Smart
idols.
men.
My idols.
And I know because he said it, I know how hard it was for Goldberg to be Goldberg for this. I hope he really enjoys the steak and the beer he has after this match, and his sleep and not working out tomorrow. Women's 6-way. Alexa Bliss, Becky Lynch, Mickie James, Carmella, Natalya, and Naomi. No surprises. Apparently they had teased a new debut or returning legend.
No, they didn't. They did until Thursday. Once they announced a 6-pack challenge, you can't add somebody.
I see.
It's hard to have 7 people in a 6-pack challenge.
James Ellsworth was out there as person number 7. When they worked hard for the very limited time they had. When this is over, I remember 2 things. Mickie James' headdress, which Dave on Twitter stole my joke about saying Wahoo McDaniel never looked this good. But it's true. I will remember James Ellsworth getting suplexed by Becky Lynch. And I might remember Natty trying a double sharpshooter and falling down.
All you need to know is, you know the old saying, the music between the notes?
Yeah.
There was no music in this match.
No, there were no notes.
Their time was dramatically cut. I think they still did every single move they wanted to do. There was 0 time between moves. They just went 1,000 miles an hour until they did the finish. And Naomi won with, she calls it the rear view.
That's to this day.
Yep.
I have to call it that.
And a wacky lucha submission.
Yes. New Day came out 6 hours and 19 minutes into the show.
I was thinking, dude, this better be good. All they did, though, was announce the attendance, so that was fine.
75-245 for those of you who like to argue with Dave on Twitter about these kind of things.
It's complete bullshit. The last time they were there, they claimed 74-635, so they had to be higher than last time.
Mm-hmm. They thanked the fans, and they danced. And that was it. We never saw them again.
No.
Jim Ross came out to do commentary for the main event, which was awesome for a variety of reasons. They gave him a good head start to make it down the ramp before introducing him. That was also wise. He goes over to the announce desk, and JBL and Cole greet him. They say, "It's been a rough few weeks, Jim. Tell me more." Tell me more.
Damn.
He did say he's just there to have a good time and have some fun. So, it's Roman Reigns versus Undertaker.
That was a very poorly timed laugh, but I was scrolling through my Twitter right as you were talking about that, and someone has taken Randy Orton down in the middle of the ring, and they've taken out all of the maggots, and they've put Triple H's face.
I did see that. Yes. Which is scarier.
Dude, it's just so stupid. You know what I mean? Till the end of time, people are going to be putting stuff in the ring, transposing over those maggots with what stupid stuff we could have seen.
And they're all going to be awesome. They're all going to be awesome. So, Roman Reigns comes out, and he walks down to the ring, and this takes, I didn't time it, we'll get 2 or 3 minutes. Jim Ross introducing Roman Reigns to new viewers and giving his credentials and how great he's going to be in this match was the best commentary in WWE in ages. And I know that's not breaking news in 2017, that Jim Ross is light years better than anyone else they have currently employed, but everything he said just carried an air of gravity and seriousness, and also respect for these combatants that we're about to watch.
Yeah, he's fucking good at his job.
Yeah, I know, breaking news, but it's my job to give you my impressions of the show. And my impression of the show was, wow, Jim Ross is better than this, than the assholes they currently employ. Taker zoomed up out of a hole in the middle of the ramp, so he did not have to walk the whole way to the ring. Now, that being said, he got a start, 2/3 to 3/4 of the way down, and he started walking. I looked down at Twitter for a while. I looked back up. He was still walking. So, it's still a long way to go. So, they're doing the match. There's lots of slow brawling. It's nearing midnight. Midnight. On a school night, on a work night in Orlando by the time this is going on. There's like 2 people chanting, "We don't like you." The other 60-some thousand people are taking a nap. Taker does most of his usual stuff. Tried the last ride, but he just couldn't get Roman up anymore. Didn't even try old school. Knew that wasn't going to happen. So they're outside. Taker preps the Spanish announce table. He's going to try to chokeslam Roman through it. He climbs up on top and does the throat slash, but Roman comes up out of nowhere and spears him, and they both go through the table. And Roman returns to the ring and asks, "Whose yard is it now?" And this causes Taker to do the zombie sit-up. That's important to remember. Match goes on. Taker gets a chair, just unloads on Roman Reigns with this chair in this ring. Someone pointed out the last time Roman was in this ring was when he was playing a college football game. I don't think he got hit in that college football game as hard as these chair shots were. So they go back and forth. They tease some moves, choke slams, tombstones, Superman punches. Roman tried to reverse a tombstone. They screwed it up to a humiliating degree, although in Roman's defense, Taker is big. And finally, we got the Hell's Gate, which Roman escaped from. And then, after all this action, Taker goes to crawl for the chair, but just as he's about to grab it, Roman has gotten to his feet, and he puts his foot on the chair, and that really was the end of the Taker, and it was only a matter of time from that point. So we get some spears, some kickouts, Superman punches, and then we get some chair shots. And Roman hits a Superman punch, and he backs up to the corner and starts to shake his head. And Taker tries to do the zombie sit-up. He gets almost all the way up, and everyone's cheering. And then he gets a pained expression on his face, and he teeters over to the side like a Macy's parade balloon deflating, is what he looked like. And then they redid the Taker-Shawn retirement spot. And Roman's standing over Taker, shrugging, asking what he has to do. And Taker tries to drag himself up by Roman's chest, and Roman's chest gear. And he says something, we couldn't hear him. So Roman goes for a spear, and his plan is he's going to hit the ropes like 4 times. But Taker gets in his way. And so Roman has to stop and throw a couple punches. Then he hits the ropes about 4 times, and he finally hits a spear, and he wins. And I didn't think of this. Other people did, but it's true. This is basically the U.S. version of the Okada Tenryu match, with the guy who everyone loves in his last match doing the very, very best he can, but it's not as good as he used to do.
No, but you know what? He was way better than that match, that Okada Tenryu match. That was something else.
Now, Taker can walk.
Here's the thing with Taker that people understand, or I'm sure they probably do understand, but Taker's moves like Terry Funk. He's had hip surgery. Like, I don't think Taker's out there running for his cardio. Like, a lot of guys, you get your ring wind. Like, if you're not wrestling regularly, you gotta do some kind of cardio. And if you can't, like, run or do anything like that, I mean, some guys just get their cardio by wrestling. Taker's not wrestling. The fact that he went as long as he did and made it through his match, he had very good pacing. He pulled off most of his stuff. They botched a tombstone spot, something fierce, which was kind of sad. He couldn't get up for that thing, but, I mean, overall, Taker did the best job that he could. I know everybody hates Roman Reigns, but the dude can work, and he did a great job with Undertaker. Undertaker is not having a match this good with anybody else. Shawn's retired. It's just not going to happen. This was a great match to go out on. Undertaker, when he lost to Lesnar, that was going to be his last match. And he decided to come back again. And the Shane McMahon match last year, he retired. This is the third time. But even in the Lesnar match, he did not do his big retirement ceremony, which he did afterwards here. So it was abundantly clear after this match, this is it.
Mm-hmm. So he laid in the ring forever. Roman makes his big exit, goes up the ramp, turns around. There's tons of pyro at midnight. It was like New Year's Eve in Orlando. And finally, Roman leaves. Taker is not moving. It's been like 5 minutes now he's been down. And we're thinking, are Druids going to come out? I thought maybe Kane would come out and they would leave together. No. Eventually, Taker, I guess he did the zombie sit-up, the version of it he could do. And you know what happened? He did the zombie sit-up. Then he started showing replays of the match. By the time the replays were done, he had his coat and hat back on. And he walks around looking at the crowd, and he's so sad. Sad Undertaker broke my heart, I admit. Everyone's on their feet chanting, "Thank you, Taker." The lights are all purple, his music's playing. And he starts to leave, and he stops, and he goes back to the ring, and he slowly removes his gloves, and he puts them down on the mat. He slowly removes his coat, neatly folds it, and places it on top of his gloves. I should have mentioned the announcers for this were smart enough to just be silent, let it all play out. Then Taker grabs his hat. And he's always removed his hat the exact same way, going back to coming out with Ted DiBiase at Survivor Series in 92 or whatever it was. And he grabs his hat and he stops and he takes several deep breaths. He takes the hat off, takes one more deep breath. And he puts the hat down on top of the jacket, on top of the gloves. He looks around and he is still doe-eyed, sad puppy dog Undertaker. And it was hard to watch. And finally, he makes his way out of the ring, walks over to the corner where his wife is sitting, kisses Michelle. I think I saw Rikishi sitting out there with him, although it was purple lights and hard to tell. And Taker goes up the ramp, and there's smoke all over him, and makes his walk, and he stops and looks back over his shoulder one last time, and turns his back and raises his fist, and there's lightning, and then the trapdoor goes down, and he descends with it, and that is how Mania finally ended. And last thing to add is that's where the show ended, and they immediately went into a replay, which I can't fathom anyone sticking around to watch. But like a half hour after the show, there were pictures showing up on Twitter, and they were taking the chairs out of the building, and the ropes were loose, and everything's starting to come down, and Taker's gear was still there. No one wanted to touch it.
Man, oh man. It may still be there right now for all.
It might.
Yeah. Very good retirement ceremony. It was funny when he went out there and raised his fist, and it took forever for them to start lowering him down. Had his fist up there for like 5 minutes. I was like, this dude's shoulder tomorrow is going to be so sore. He's
Yes.
probably going to kick somebody's ass when he gets back there. But hell of a career for the old Undertaker. And now we'll see what they do tomorrow on Raw. Somebody on Twitter says Roman needs to come out wearing his gear.
That could happen.
Ultimate
I thought maybe
heel
they'd have Undertaker go up the ramp, and then when he gets there, Roman comes out and spears him again.
Oh, God, no, it'd be terrible. But anyway, that was the main event. Everybody was wondering why that match was going on last. Obviously, there
now
were
we know.
Two reasons. One is that next year it is Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns. That's the main event. And both guys won on this show, so that already sets up a match a year from now. And Undertaker was retiring, so it's not like you could have done this whole thing and then have... Actually, you probably could have still had Lesnar and Goldberg come out, given the match they had. But I think they made the right decision. Everybody stuck around for it for the most part, and it was pretty good. A very, very memorable WrestleMania. I'm not sad I didn't go. I'll go next year. I'm very happy to be sitting here right now instead of in a hotel room. Actually, I wouldn't even be in a hotel room. We would literally be on the road right now in deadlock traffic. Guaranteed.
I'm going to look up Orlando traffic right now.
Yeah, check it out.
What's Orlando traffic like at 1:30 in the morning? Some red, not as much as you might think.
Oh, really?
I'm not sure exactly where the stadium is here. I can imagine here by this red part.
Yeah, it's probably a nightmare, but...
Highway 4, yeah, it's a couple miles of red stop-and-go traffic.
Yep, 1:30 a.m. out there.
On a work night.
So anyway, everybody, that is it from here. I'll be back later on tonight with Dave, and Vinny and I and Craig will be back on Tuesday.